Have you ever left a conversation feeling off? Maybe you felt confused, started second-guessing yourself, or even felt a bit guilty, but you couldn't put your finger on why. It's a common, unsettling feeling. But what if some people are practically immune to this? They have a set of quiet, almost invisible habits that signal to others, I can't be manipulated. What if you could build those same habits? In this video, we're breaking down the 7 silent behaviors of people who are nearly impossible to manipulate, and the psychology that makes these habits so effective. At its core, manipulation works by hijacking our emotions and exploiting our natural cognitive biases. But the people who resist it aren't necessarily confrontational or cold. Instead, they've developed subtle habits that protect their sense of self. These behaviors dismantle the very game of manipulation before it can even start. Let's get into the first one. 1. They listen more than they speak. First up, people who are resistant to manipulation tend to listen way more than they talk. Manipulators are always on the hunt for information. They're digging for your insecurities, your dreams, and your fears so they can use that data to their advantage. People who are hard to manipulate instinctively limit how much personal information they hand over. This isn't about being secretive, it's about being an active observer. While a manipulator talks, the quiet listener is gathering their own intel. They're noticing the gaps between words and actions, the subtle shifts in tone, and the appeals designed to get an emotional reaction. Psychologically, they're using a sharp ability to understand someone's intentions without getting tangled up in their emotions. By staying quiet, they learn everything they need to know without revealing their own hand. 2. They don't justify their no. The second silent behavior is that they don't feel the need to justify their boundaries. When you tell a manipulator no, their immediate follow-up is often, why not? This isn't a real question. It's an opening for a negotiation you were never meant to win. Every reason you provide is just another tool they can use to pick apart your decision. I'm too tired becomes, let me help you get more energy. I can't afford it becomes, but it's not that expensive. People you can't manipulate get this. They deliver their no calmly and firmly, without a long story. A simple, that's not going to work for me, is a complete sentence. This ties into a concept called psychological reactance theory. When we feel our freedom to choose is threatened, we're motivated to reclaim it. By refusing to explain, you are contesting the manipulator's hidden premise that you owe them an explanation in the first place. 3. They remain calm under pressure. The third behavior is a superpower. They stay calm when things get heated. Manipulation thrives on emotional chaos. A manipulator wants you to get angry, feel guilty, or become anxious because an emotional mind struggles to think clearly. When your emotions are hijacked, the logical, decision-making part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, takes a back seat. Someone who stays calm breaks this entire cycle. Their composure is a quiet refusal to play the game. That small pause between a manipulator's jab and their own response acts as a psychological shield. It signals high emotional intelligence and communicates that their state of mind is not for sale. A manipulator facing a calm person has no emotional buttons to push. 4. They observe patterns, not just words. Manipulators can be masters of language, using apologies, compliments, and big promises to paint a picture that feels real. But people who are difficult to manipulate have learned to trust patterns over prose. They know that words can lie, but behavior rarely does. They might hear a heartfelt apology, but they'll remember the last 3 times that same apology was given with zero change in behavior. They'll hear a grand promise, but they'll see the long history of broken promises that came before it. This focus on behavioral patterns is an incredibly powerful defense. They operate on a simple but effective principle. Show me, don't just tell me. If you're finding this breakdown useful, take a second to subscribe. We regularly post videos designed to help you strengthen your psychological toolkit for navigating these kinds of complex situations. 5. They use silence as a tool. The fifth silent behavior is the strategic use of silence. In a conversation, especially with a manipulator, silence can feel incredibly awkward, but usually for them. They count on a quick reaction, a defense, an argument, or a flustered explanation. When all they get is silence, their script is thrown out the window. This non-reaction does 2 powerful things. First, it forces the manipulator to sit with their own words, and they'll often keep talking just to fill the void, sometimes revealing more than they intended. Second, it demonstrates quiet power. You're showing that you aren't desperate for their approval and won't rush to make them comfortable. Silence communicates that you are in control. 6. They protect their energy. People who can't be manipulated view their energy as a limited and valuable resource. They understand that manipulators, whether through constant drama, guilt-tripping, or endless demands, are emotional energy vampires. A resistant person practices good, emotional hygiene. They have a built-in sense for when an interaction is becoming draining and will disengage to protect their own peace. This isn't about being rude, it's a non-negotiable boundary. They might physically leave, calmly end the conversation, or simply stop responding to texts. They know you can't pour from an empty cup, and they refuse to let someone else drain their battery just to fuel unnecessary drama. 7. They choose distance over drama. Finally, the seventh and most powerful silent behavior. They are always willing to choose distance over drama. Manipulators need you to be close by to keep their influence going. Their power depends on having constant access to your time and emotions. When someone consistently shows they are willing to walk away, not as a threat, but as a calm, self-respecting choice, it sends the most powerful signal of all. My peace is more important than this dynamic. Prioritizing your well-being over the chaos of a manipulative relationship is the ultimate move. It renders the manipulator powerless because their games only work on people who are afraid to leave the table. These 7 behaviors, listening more than speaking, not justifying a no, staying calm, observing patterns, using silence, protecting your energy, and choosing distance, all work together. They aren't about being aggressive. They are habits built on self-awareness and psychological strength. By developing these quiet behaviors, you're not just putting up a shield against manipulation. You're building a foundation of unshakable self-respect. What are some other habits you've noticed in people who are hard to manipulate? Share your thoughts in the comments below.